All right, here he is.
So when did you start rapping?
That was after the talent show. So, K. Tretch and I were from the same area. KG is a year older than us. So in 1987, he graduated high school. Tretch and I graduated 88. But in 1987, he had a senior class talent show. And at that time, I was going over K's house beatboxing for him. K was DJing. He would scratch, I would beatbox. He wanted to do his high school talent show. He was like, but we need an MC. So I'm like, hey, there's this kid in my health class. Every other day he comes to me with a new rhyme, and I'm beatboxing for him. Just bring him over.
So you and Tretch had been doing that like lunchroom?
Yep.
Like you're beatboxing so he could rap, and he was good from early on.
Tretch, he's always been nasty. And then back then, for some reason, like Tretch had always been a fan of LL Cool J and Kool Moe Dee and the Treacherous Three. So that's where he got Tretch from.
Oh.
And, for some reason, he was obsessed with Freddy Krueger. So if you can imagine, we're juniors in high school, 86. This guy came to school with one hand, and every nail was at least 3 inches long.
His real nails.
His real nails. And he called him the Freddy of rap. He called himself the Freddy of rap. So on our first album, there's a song called Yoke the Joker, and Tretch references that, the Freddy of rap. So he was in my health class, and I brought him over to K. And once we gelled, we were like, all right, bet. And we didn't even have a name for our crew. It was just we're going to go out here and freestyle this thing.
In the basement, just making songs, making music.
And even back then for us, before we started recording, that was around, again, that was 87. We had just got together because it was just the elements.
Yeah.
DJing, beatboxing, and rapping. When we did that talent show, we weren't even recording yet. When we did that talent show, we weren't even doing song structures yet. Back then, everything was just freestyle. You run the beat.
Yeah.
Whatever rhyme you had, you would do it. No choruses, no nothing. But it was a lot of live performances back then. So you would just do a routine to rock the crowd. So our very first talent show was a routine to rock the crowd.
Right.
And to start the routine, KG scratched the Beastie Boys. It's the new style. So after we finished that first talent show, we were like, wow, that went over well. It was like, you know what? That intro worked too. The new style. Let's call ourselves the New Style.
Okay.
So that's what we did. Our very first group was called the New Style prior to Naughty by Nature.
So you're right at the beginning of people starting to think about this as a career, right? Because before 85, really, you was like, you made an album, you made a song, you weren't really thinking about going on tour. I mean, people went on tour, but most people's careers were fairly short before the later 80s. You started to see people come out who would have longer career. Public Enemy would have a long career. KRS-One starts to come out. You guys, right? So at what point are you starting to think, this could be a thing? Like, we could do a whole thing.
Right. Well, I would say at 87, after that talent show, we formed a group called the New Style, and then we started performing locally more. I remember at Club 88 back in the day, which was former Club Brokers, they had the Tough Teen Talent Competition. And we used to go in there, listen to who we used to compete against. We're all from Jersey. We used to compete against Redman, Lords of the Underground, Artifacts, Wyclef Jean, Croswell, Lauryn Hill, Queen Latifah, Lakim Shabazz, you name it.
That's interesting because this is very early for Redman.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I know the rest of them came out like kind of like the next generation. Redman is still...
Well, and
so is he very young at this point?
all of us were young. We weren't established artists. We were just all high school kids competing in the Tough Teen Talent competition.
But he's a lot younger than you, isn't he?
I don't think so.
No, okay,
Reggie.
okay.
Not that.
Okay.
So we didn't come out as Naughty by Nature until 1991.
Okay.
This is 1988, 1989.
So you were the New Style for a good minute.
Yeah, we were the New Style, and we got signed to the old Sugar Hill Records. We got introduced to Sylvia Robinson from Sugar Hill Records.
The legend. What was that like?
Yeah, that was amazing, you know. And they were just finishing their big Sugar Hill run. You know, we got with them after their heyday. And I think, you know, at that time, Sugar Hill Records had imploded. Melly Mel and them were suing them. Then Sugar Hill sued the distributor, NCA. And I remember there being a big settlement. So Sugar Hill kind of went away, and part of Sylvia's settlement was a distribution deal, and her label was called Bon Ami Records.
Okay.
So she signed the New Style to Bon Ami Records, and we put out a single called Scuffing Those Knees, and the name of the album was called Independent Leaders. So we released that in 1989.
Okay. So why and how did you switch the name?
For one, we had to, because we realized, like, you know, when we signed that deal, we were like, it's a Hail Mary, because everyone was like, oh, Sugar Hill never pays any artists. They rob everybody. That's why they don't exist anymore.
You knew that and you still signed with them?
Because we were like, well, and you know, back then, the starving artists, and hip-hop wasn't what it is now.
Right.
And we're like, you know what? That's the remnants of greatness, you know, Sugar Hill. Of course, we figure we're Supermen. We can make something happen. Okay. You know, we can make something happen out of this. But, you know, once we got in there, we realized, like, there was a lot of resistance from them in particular, you know, with the industry from them. So we couldn't really penetrate, and then we had to get away. But good thing that we were from Jersey, and Mark the 45 King and the Flavor Unit were there.
Okay.
So at that time, you know, that was 89 going into 1990. We knew Mark the 45 King, Lakim Shabazz, Apache, and Queen Latifah had already put out her first single just before, you know, she was doing Ladies First with Moni Love, and Latifah was running with Native Tongues. Right. So Flavor Unit was really established in our backyard. So coming off the New Style album around 1989, we ran down on them. Of course, we had to audition for Mark the 45 King, you know, Lakim Shabazz, Apache, Lati, all of those guys. And a lot of them, they were signed to Tough City Records, so they were already releasing songs and rocking out with Cool DJ Red Alert.
Right.
So when it came to Jersey hip-hop, it was Flavor Unit, Mark the 45 King, and the Flavor Unit crew who was rocking. So we were like, yo, we need to track down Flavor Unit and get down with them. So lo and behold, we did. And one day we ran into Latifah and Shakim. We invited them to a party we threw for ourselves, because again, we were coming from the New Style. We were hot around our way in East Orange in the Newark area. We were hot. But to court Flavor Unit, we were like, we're going to show you our work. Meet us at Upsala College Gym on this day, this night. Whole Flavor Unit came out. We threw our own party, packed out our whole gymnasium. It was in a college, so we packed it out, a whole gymnasium, performed, smashed down the place, and then gave them our demo. And perfect timing, because Mark the 45 King and the rest of the Flavor Unit crew, a lot of those guys had their deal, but Shakim and Queen Latifah took it to the next level, and they started Flavor Unit Management. So at that time, they were like, you know what? We're just starting Flavor Unit Management, and we're filling you guys as the New Style, but you're still signed to Bon Ami, you know, the old Sugar Hill.
So you had to change your name to get away from Sugar Hill.
Exactly. So we had to change our name to get away from Sugar Hill, and if you can imagine, we had already spent a few years as the New Style, so we were like, man, how do we do that?
Built that name up. Now we got to... So what was the thought process that got to Naughty by Nature?
Well, we were like, hey, this is the opportunity. We have to listen to Flavor Unit, so we got to change the name. So in brainstorming, Tretch went into his lyric book turning pages. He was like, yo, we should use Naughty by Nature. Naughty by Nature was actually a title of a New Style song.
Okay.
Yeah. So we had a song called Naughty by Nature as the New Style, but it was never released on that album.
It has a nice alliteration that gives it a memorable quality. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And here's the thing. Rest in peace, Chris Lighty.
Now.
And big shout to Jimmy Hinchman.
You make me cry just thinking about fucking Lighty. So you ended up on Tommy Boy.
We ended up on Tommy Boy.
Which is really interesting because Tommy Boy, you guys were if memory serves, you guys were the most street act on Tommy Boy, right? Because they were doing
Probably
more like
at that time
what we would now call like art hip hop, right? It was De La Soul. Who else was there?
They had Soul Sonic Force, De La Soul, the Force MDs. They had Queen Latifah with Ladies First, and she had the whole Afrocentric thing going on.
Right.
They had Digital Underground, the Humpty Dance.
So it's artful hip hop,
Yeah.
and you guys it's a different vibe.
Yep.
Right?
Well, I tell you, to their credit, back then we weren't coming out of the 80s because you had Kid and Play, you had Kwame, people dressed up, idol makers, right? With Salt and Pepper, Herbie Lovebug and those guys. Everyone was really dressy.
Yeah.
We came in there and we had on zoot suits. We were coming out of the New Style, but we had on zoot suits, almost like Rakim, Let the Rhythm Hit 'Em. And it was the old Tommy gun.
Like zoot suits like the 1920s?
Yeah.
With shoes?
Yeah. We had that kind of vibe. Monica Lynch and Tommy Boy was like, this isn't going to work.
Wow.
And then Tretch at the time, he was always saying, because we were still on the block, you know what? We just need to be ourselves and dress just like we're coming out off the block.
I think I remember writing that Naughty by Nature dresses on stage like they got out of bed, threw on whatever,
right,
and went on stage. And that was and of course Run DMC did that before y'all, but it created a sense of community and connection with the artist. He dresses just like I do, or just like I want to dress. R&B is wearing clothes we cannot afford, fantasy gear. You guys and a lot of other rappers are dressed just like the hood is dressed, just like everybody in the crowd is dressed, which made us love you.
Exactly. You can't beat a jean jacket, jeans, and some Timbs.
Right? A sweatshirt, right? That, like, whatever.
And a hoodie. Okay.